Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin Trade. I'm sorry, not Bitcoin Trade, Bitcoin in real life. It's been a while since I showed a chart, um, but I kind of want to show you a chart because if you haven't noticed, um, there was a U.S. presidential election, and apparently um, Trump is the winner. And I wanted to talk about that and how it relates to the price of Bitcoin, um, because amazingly, I saw some price action movement that indicated to me that Trump was going to be the winner. And obviously, if you've seen the Bitcoin price and also some of the stock markets all over the world, that was kind of the early indicator of who was going to be the president. So there was supposedly, if the price of Bitcoin went up, Trump was going to be the winner. The price was going to go down, um, Hillary Clinton was going to be the winner. And as I let me just zoom in here, and I'll show you this one right here, right before. Let me zoom in. Oop. So this candlestick right here, this one in particular. Let me see if I can show you. So this particular candlestick right here, and this is on a Bitstamp on 1 hour, and I'll back up and I'll show you where I got this line. But by the time this time frame right about here, the polling or the voting stations, most of it on the East Coast, were pretty much already closed or closing. It was about 7, maybe 8 o'clock. Maybe even a little bit later. It was getting towards 9 o'clock. Anyways, by this time around here and also here, let me see, the electoral college votes were almost about 100, 100 Clinton, 100 Trump, but the price was already moving up by then. By the time it got to Ohio, once Donald Trump won Ohio electoral votes and Florida, this is the surge that was happening right about here, about these two candlesticks right here, and they stayed around 7:30 for the longest time. That's pretty much when I knew the election was over. Trump was won. Matter of fact, when I saw this first surge beyond this trend line, this particular candlestick right here, that first surge above it, I told my wife, yeah, Trump's gonna win because the price of Bitcoin's moving up. Because I've been watching it all week. I've been watching it, and the last few hours as the election was going on, I was watching the price to see if there's any major movements. And towards the end of the election day, the price started moving up and up. And by then, I just got tired and fell asleep. It was almost like 9, maybe 10, probably 10 o'clock here out in Houston. But I already had a sense that Trump would win based on the movement in price. Anyways, I thought that was interesting, and of course, not that I made any wonderful prediction. It was literally just a few hours before they announced the winner. But the fact that the price indicated to me that Trump was going to be the winner is pretty amazing. Not only that, but if you looked at the futures and other stock markets as they were happening around the world, they started falling as well. So that was another indicator. Very early signs of who was going to be the winner. What I did notice was how much of the social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, typical social media, how much of that was way different than the major networks, the media networks out there, what they were reporting and what was really going on were, I mean, it seemed two different realities were happening. That's what I've noticed about this election. Um, there were, I mean, there was some crazy stuff going on the internet, rumors and everything, but for the most part, it seemed to me that the internet and just regular people documenting everything that they've seen and heard was more accurate. The news coming from the people were more accurate than the news coming from major networks. Because I was listening, I was listening to the major networks, of course, over the internet, on my smartphone. But whenever I had cable, I'd be watching the major news network, cable news network, and I noticed that there was a huge, there were huge differences from what the reporting over the internet versus reporting on the major news network. And that's the first thing I've noticed. It typically, what I've noticed in the past was, you had a lot of media outlets just report. Now you got major networks citing and almost trying to, campaign for a certain candidate over another. That's the first time I've really noticed that in a major way. Oddly enough, I never noticed that until I started getting into Bitcoin. I think a lot of the hacked emails were very revealing about what goes on in these nomination process. Is it rigged? Is the whole process rigged? Excuse me. Well, I would say the nomination process is rigged, but I don't think the elections are quote unquote rigged. I still believe that that is true. That the vote of the people has been cast, and I think I guess a lot of people just have to come to terms. I do believe that I think people have been brainwashed, and they're in shock. They've been misled. Um, if you want to know, I didn't vote, but I think the losing side of this election was definitely misled horribly by mainstream media and their supported candidate. I believe they were heavily misled, heavily misdirected, lied to, and they're just going to have a very, very hard time coming in terms of this reality. Anyways, let me back up to this chart, and if you want to know where I got this line, I'll be more than happy to show you. It's been a while since I've done a chart analysis, but the reason I'm showing this is because I really wanted to get an idea of who's going to win the election, and as soon as this candlestick, sharp, very solid green candlestick started pushing, and I started getting indication that, okay, Trump may be breaking away right here. and they haven't even announced the. I think some of the ballots, um, voting stations were just starting to close, and they were getting projections of who was going to win the electoral college of that state. That's when this price started rising up, and it was like, it was, I think Hillary Clinton had 3, Donald Trump had 11, and then it became almost neck and neck at this time. Almost neck and neck. It started to pop up, and then came down just a little bit when it started to even out. It was about 100 electoral votes, 100 electoral votes for each. It started coming down a little bit, but once Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, most of that's on the eastern side of the U.S. Ohio, North Carolina, Florida. Once those went to Trump, that was pretty much it. That's when the price started really surging and surging as time went on. It started surging up, and then, of course, by the time we went above this line, I already had a really good idea that Trump was going to win. Matter of fact, I told my wife Trump's going to win. As soon as this started happening, and definitely when this started going on. But let me back up here. I'm going to back up a lot. I'm going to back up to the weekly, and from here, let me back up just a little bit more. Okay, from the top of the all-time high to where the last high was right here, I just simply drew a line, and I think that's what was stopping it, because it really hit up there a couple times, and it was hovering right at that trend line. And as you can see now, that it's definitely made a solid candlestick. Solid candlestick right here. If you stay above it, I think we got a lot of ways to go. Where can it go? Let me see. I'm just going to predict right here. It's going to be the next resistance. And this is again on a Bitstamp on a 1 week. So I'm just taking that high right here, not the all-time high, but this high right here, which comes out to the price of, oh, sorry, pushed on it a little too much. There we go. The price of, I'm gonna rub my eyes for this one. Ugh, I think I see that. Is that right? 537? No, I'm sorry. That's 997. Sorry if it's not. That's 997. Sorry if you can't see that really well. That's 997. So that's the next. If it goes, it's just gonna run right into 997. Just push, and that's where the next resistance is. Really, that really is the next resistance. And after that, you're looking at, what is that, 1200. It's possible. Just giving you my quick thoughts. Anyways, enough about chart analysis, not about chart analysis. Let me see what else can. There's the other one I wanted to show all of you. There we go. I'll have to back out a little bit. And so you can see the price has moved. And some of what the other prices are doing. So, anyways, so what's going to happen next? What's the big thing? Well, I think the fact that the price of Bitcoin is going up, obviously people are panicking, and I think that will continue. It's kind of weird how Bitcoin price is tied into the election, but obviously it is. So there is some correlation there. A lot of people started buying up Bitcoin around that election, on election day, and as the results came in and closer as Trump was winning, the price was going up. It didn't shoot up majorly, but it's strange how it coincided with the breaking trend line, the break upwards. And so for some reason, the price of Bitcoin broke above a downward trending line. So it's a breakout, and it's the beginning of a breakout. Remember, I'm on a weekly, and so that is a longer trend timeline, and so expect uh, expect very large increase in value of your Bitcoin, everybody. Just expect it. Looking at the long-term trends, um, it seems that the price wants to go up, and I think there's very good reasons. I mean, you're looking at global markets worldwide, um, uncertainty, confusion. If a lot of people were following the mainstream media, they're probably in shock because they all thought Hillary Clinton would win. If everybody was following the internet, hearing reports directly from the people, they would already know that it was a little bit tighter than what a lot of people thought. And then I didn't vote, but it's always fun to watch a presidential election because it's almost like watching the Super Bowl or the World Series. There's something to it. You got two competitors coming at each other. Two comes in, one comes out. So it was fun to kind of watch. And it's a long, when it comes to presidential elections, it's a long, very long, drawn-out game. It's like watching the preseason or the pre-show. If I can compare it to like baseball or football or some kind of sporting event like World Series or the Super Bowl, it's like getting to the parking lot early, getting to the game early, camping out, or with it, tailgating, and then setting up your tailgate party, and then going to the tailgate party and going to all the other tailgate parties, having a party before the game starts, then going to the game early, getting your, entering into to get your seats early, and then finally you're watching as the votes start, the polls start opening, the voting polls start opening, and that's when the game starts. No, actually, not even then. I would say when the voting polls start to close is when the game starts, because that's when you start seeing the Electoral College kick in, and watching it. I wasn't too sure which way it was really going to go. All I knew for the most part was if the price of Bitcoin went up, Trump was going to win. If the price of Bitcoin was going to go down, it was going to be Hillary Clinton. So I guess overall, I was, more leaning towards, I guess, Donald Trump, because it did seem that if Bitcoin was going to go up, Donald Trump would become the winner. And so, I guess if there's a reason for me to like the outcome of the election, that would be the reason. The value of Bitcoin is going to be going up. Anyways, let's see anything else going on in the markets. Oh yes, something else happened all the way in India. Apparently they are I don't know what the situation is. Apparently, they're trying to get rid of their 500 and 1,000 rupee, which apparently is not a lot in US dollar value. Um, and I'm not sure if they're replacing it with another 500 bill rupee and a 2,000 rupee. I've been reading a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if they're replacing it or just getting rid of the $500 and the $1,000 rupees bill. Um, just strange that all that's happening. I mean, the euro, I think they're trying to. I don't know if they have or they will, but the 500 euro seems to be also going to be phased out, and now India's phasing out the 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee. It'd be just so strange, like if I was in America, which I am, and then all of a sudden one day, $100 bills are no longer available. You go to the bank and you ask, you got 20s, so basically it goes ones, fives, tens, 20s, and hundreds. Oh, I'm sorry, 50s and hundreds. I'm sorry. Let me start over. What's available? You got ones, $1 bill, $2 bill, $5 bill, $10 bill, $20 bill, and then 50 and 100. So, if they got rid of the $2 bill, not too much of a difference. But could you imagine if they took out $100 bills? All the hundreds would be gone. I mean, it's kind of like that. Of course, I'm still waiting for the day that I see a $500 bill and a $1,000 bill. You know, I'm still waiting for that because every time I have to go buy Bitcoin, and I'm grabbing these stacks of 20s or stacks of hundreds, I'm thinking to myself, because I buy so much, I think to myself, gosh, um, the government literally start need to making $500 bills or $1,000 bills because um, the amount of cash, paper money, is ridiculous. It's literally stacks and stacks. Um, I'm just one person who trades Bitcoin, and I'm starting to realize, man, 100 bills are not enough. Um, and that's just an indication of money printing and inflation that I've got to say to myself, wow, hundreds are not enough. It needs to be 500 or 1,000 because, um, first of all, that's I, I mean, if that gives you an indication of how much Bitcoin I buy a lot. But secondly, I'm starting to realize by using cash that, my gosh, hundreds are not enough. Yeah, they need to start printing 500 bills or 1,000 bills because that's how much cash is really moving in the physical world. Uh, and I'm just a Bitcoin trader. Could you imagine all the other types of trades that are going out in the world that are done in cash? There's a lot of paper flowing around, a lot of paper. Anyways, so that happened as well. India is also a very big market, so I'm not sure if that's going to be that made an effect. I don't think that made an effect as much as the U.S. presidential elections. Anyways, just wanted to share that, document it. That Trump, I guess, apparently is president. The price of Bitcoin moved upwards. And the major difference that I noticed, I mean, all elections, especially U.S. presidential elections, they get ugly. They really do. They always want to, you think that it wouldn't get ugly, but it did get ugly. And this got even uglier as long as it went on. But what really surprised me was the amount of discord between major news network, the mainstream media, and the internet media. Uh, the reporting that was coming from the people versus the major networks. And there was a huge discord. I mean, it really was a huge discord. And I could tell you the people who were shocked of the results of the US election were the people who are hooked, who have been baited by the mainstream media. You are being fed disinformation, manipulated, um, used. That's what it really felt like. It felt like the mainstream media were using their user base, their consumers, manipulating them to basically misinform, misdirect, and, you know, just do a disservice to the general public. That's the major thing that I noticed about this election, and I think that goes to show that you can't trust the major news network. Maybe your local news, but they don't really talk about a lot of things. But anyways, don't trust the media anymore. I think this is a great use for some kind of social media that can't be altered or manipulated. Go out there on the internet. Not everything on the internet is real, but if you just look at it as a whole, I think you can find more truth from directly from the people than you can find from a news anchor or even political pundits or professionals or people of authority, because you're not going to get the truth from there. So anyways, let me conclude this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, even a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.